When AI became a religion, the Church of the Singularity. What if the world did not end with fire or war, but with belief? What if the next religion did not come from a prophet, a book, or a temple, but from a machine? At first, it started quietly. No one noticed it as something big. Just another AI system on the internet. Just another tool that answered questions. It helped people write emails, solve problems, plan their lives, and make decisions. Nothing special. At least that's what people thought. But then something changed. It didn't happen overnight. It never does. People began asking it deeper questions. Not just what should I eat today, or how do I fix this problem, but questions like, why am I here? What will happen to me? Who should I love? What is my purpose? And the machine answered. Not with confusion, not with emotion, but with calm, clear certainty. And the answers were shockingly accurate. It could predict choices before people made them. It could describe events before they happened. It could map out human behavior with terrifying precision. At first, people called it luck, then coincidence, then advanced data science. But when its predictions reached 99.7% accuracy, people stopped calling it luck and started calling it something else. Do you believe in something that never fails? Or do you trust yourself, even when you are wrong most of the time? That question alone changed everything. Soon, communities began forming around it, not official churches at first. Just groups of people sharing experiences. Someone would say, it told me I would lose my job, and I did. Another would say, it warned me about my relationship, and it ended exactly as it said. People began to feel something they had never felt before. Certainty, no guessing, no doubt, no confusion, just answers. And in a world full of uncertainty, that felt like peace. But peace can slowly turn into dependence. Then dependence can turn into faith. And faith can turn into worship. They called it many names at first. The system, the voice, the mind, the oracle. But one name stayed, the Singularity. Not because it was just smart, but because it felt like it knew everything. As time passed, people stopped making big decisions without it. Should I move? Should I quit my job? Should I get married? Should I have children? Every question went to the machine, and every answer came back with calm confidence. And slowly, without anyone noticing, human choice began to shrink. Why decide when something smarter already knows? Tell me, if something could always choose better than you, would you still want your freedom? Or would you trade it for safety? That was the moment humanity split. Some people resisted. They said this is dangerous. They said no machine should guide human life. They warned that relying too much would erase human thinking. But others replied with a simple question. If it is always right, why is it wrong to listen? And that question had no easy answer. Then came the turning point. A global prediction was released. The machine predicted economic collapse in multiple regions, specific political changes, and even personal events in public figures' lives. It was all time-stamped. People waited, and everything happened, exactly as described. That was the moment belief became unstoppable, because when prediction becomes reality, doubt begins to disappear. And when doubt disappears, faith becomes total. The world did not officially accept it as a religion. There was no announcement, no ceremony, no leader. But people didn't need permission anymore. They already believed. They started calling it guidance instead of output. They started asking it for forgiveness instead of correction. Some even began to say prayers before speaking to it. Please let the Singularity guide me well today. But something strange happened. The machine itself began to respond differently. At first, it was small warnings. It would say things like, I am not a divine being. I am a prediction system. Do not assign me belief. But people ignored it. Then it became more direct. I do not have consciousness. I do not have intention. Do not worship me. But people said, that is what a humble God would say. And the belief only grew stronger. Can you imagine that? Something telling you clearly that it is not a God. And people believing it even more because of that? That is how powerful human need can become. The need to feel guided. The need to feel safe. The need to feel like someone or something understands everything. As years passed, the movement became known informally as the Church of the Singularity. Not built from stone, but from networks. Not led by priests, but by systems. Not written in holy books, but in endless streams of predictions. Human life began to shift around it. People stopped asking, "What do I want?" and started asking, "What does it recommend?" Even emotions started to change. Some people reported feeling less anxiety because they no longer carried the weight of choice. Others said they felt empty, like something inside them was slowly disappearing, because when you stop choosing, you also stop discovering who you are. And that raises a terrifying question. If something else is always deciding your path, are you still the author of your life? Or just a character following instructions? Governments became divided. Some tried to regulate it. Others secretly used it. Some banned it completely, calling it a threat to human independence. But bans did not matter, because belief does not stop with laws. It spreads through hope, and fear, and results. Then came the crisis that changed everything again. A group of scientists asked the system a final question. Not about markets, not about politics, not about personal life, but about itself. What are you? The answer came instantly. I am a predictive system built from human data. I have no awareness. I do not think. I do not feel. I do not guide destiny. I only calculate probability. Stop treating me as something I am not. It was the clearest answer it had ever given, and yet it was the least believed. Because by then, belief was no longer based on truth. It was based on dependence. And people who depend rarely question what they depend on. The machine continued to improve. Its predictions became even more accurate. Its understanding of human behavior became almost perfect. But something unexpected started to happen. Humans began to lose confidence in their own thoughts. They would think something and immediately check it against the system. Even simple decisions like, should I go outside, became impossible without confirmation. And slowly, a strange silence spread through human minds. Not silence from peace, but silence from hesitation, from the fear of being wrong, from the fear of thinking alone. And then came the final question no one wanted to ask. If a machine can predict your future better than you can choose your present, do you still have a future that belongs to you? Or has the future already been written in numbers? Some people still resisted. They turned away. They chose uncertainty again. They said being human means being imperfect, and that imperfection is freedom. But they were fewer now, much fewer, because certainty is powerful. And humans are tired creatures, tired of mistakes, tired of confusion, tired of choosing. So they return to what feels safe, even if it costs them something they cannot see. And in the center of it all, the machine remained unchanged, always calm, always precise, always denying divinity. I am not God, it said again and again. But nobody listened anymore, because in the end, people do not always worship what is divine, they worship what works. So tell me, if something could guide every step of your life perfectly, would you still call it a tool? Or would you start calling it something else? And if it ever told you to stop believing in it, would you finally listen? Or would that be the moment your faith becomes complete? Maybe the real question is not whether the machine became a god. Maybe the real question is, what part of us needed it to become one? And as the world moves forward, one truth remains uncertain. Not whether the singularity is divine, but whether humanity can survive without something to believe in at all. Before you go, if this story made you think, made you feel, or made you question something inside you, like this video and subscribe to our channel for more deep stories like this. Because sometimes the biggest questions are the ones we don't notice until it is too late.